Mark, the justices feel a little divided over these arguments. Laura just laid it out for us. Today, the question of birthright citizenship was actually not on the table. We were talking about nationwide injunctions. Yeah. Break it down for us.
The Supreme Court made a bizarre choice in this case. It had two questions before it, an easy one about whether these executive orders are unconstitutional, and they obviously are, and a hard one, which is the scope of nationwide injunctions, the powers that courts have to issue them. And bizarrely, the Supreme Court chose to answer the hard question and not to directly address the easy question. And so we had 2.5 hours of the justices debating amongst themselves with really deep confusion what exactly they should do or they can do to rein in this problem of overreaching injunctions without fundamentally upsetting or unsettling the judiciary's power to say what the law is.
You know, birthright citizenship is a core element of our democracy. It is found in the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, one of the Reconstruction Amendments, 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments, all happened after the Civil War. I just, what do you think the justices are going to do? Because they all were like, should we? Everybody except Thomas and Alito were like, maybe we should hear the merits of this case. What do you think? Do you think we should get a briefing? Right. Literally from the dais.
It was fascinating because the court said, oh, we're only going to look at the injunction issue, but then the merits kept seeping in. And one reason is that this was the worst possible case for the justices to use as a vehicle to reconsider nationwide injunctions. Because if the Supreme Court overturns the injunctions in this case and prunes them back to only the plaintiffs who filed suit, then we will have birthright citizenship in the 22 states that sued, and we will not have birthright citizenship in the 28 states that didn't sue. So if you're in Philadelphia, then you don't have birthright citizenship, but if you cross the river into Camden, New Jersey, then you do. That is a deeply strange way to do fundamental rights. It's really not how federal law works. As you say, this is a deeply rooted constitutional principle, and I think it was a huge mistake for the Supreme Court not to just say, in this case, let's decide the issue on the merits. Birthright citizenship is right there in the Constitution. We are saying these executive orders are unconstitutional and overturning them, because that would have obviated all of these other thornier, more difficult procedural questions.
You know, the government has actually lost in every lower court case related to this one based on Supreme Court precedent. Let's hear from Justice Jackson today. This is what what she had to say, and we're going to discuss it on the other side.
Your argument seems to turn our justice system, in my view at least, into a catch-me-if-you-can kind of regime from the standpoint of the executive, where everybody has to have a lawyer and file a lawsuit in order for the government to stop violating people's rights. I don't understand how that is remotely consistent with the rule of law.
What's your reaction to that?
I think that really cuts to the heart of why this is such a poor vehicle to think about these issues. Because if the Supreme Court overturns these injunctions, as Justice Jackson was saying, as Justice Kagan was saying, then potentially everyone has to fight for their right to birthright citizenship, for the right of their children to birthright citizenship, hire their own lawyer, go to court. And the executive branch can just keep trying to evade the Supreme Court endlessly. Even if they keep losing in the lower courts, they can just not appeal and never get an adverse decision in the Supreme Court. That could create extraordinary instability in the law. It could really undermine people's fundamental rights. And, I just think that basically the Supreme Court keeps trying to dodge clashes with Trump. It keeps trying to step away from these conflicts, craft these compromises. This looked like it might be another compromise, another baby-splitting decision here. But I don't know if that's going to happen. I think these justices have accidentally backed themselves into a real corner. And I think it's possible that they might say, you know what, we messed up, but we need to just decide this on the merits so that they don't have to work through this, as Justice Jackson put it, catch-me-if-you-can system that they might create if they take away courts' power to issue broad injunctions.
The thing about the birthright citizen question here on the table and this injunctions, let's just say if they don't decide to do the merits and they just decide to limit judges' ability to issue these nationwide injunctions, people are assuming that this is solely relegated to undocumented individuals that come to this country who have children. Yeah. My concern is that this could apply to, I know people whose parents are from Jamaica who moved to the States and they were born, my friends were born here. Yeah. So now are they not citizens? I'm thinking of President Barack Obama, Vice President Kamala Harris. Her father's from Jamaica. Her mother was from India. She was born in Oakland. So is she now not going to be a citizen?
The first order that Trump issued only applies prospectively in the future. But if the Supreme Court were to uphold it, or even to not render judgment on it now, there is nothing that would prevent the White House from issuing another order that reaches back retroactively and tries to strip citizenship from the people you were just describing. And here's the thing. The vast majority of Americans, the only proof we have of our citizenship is our birth certificate, is evidence that we were born here. We don't have certificates of naturalization. Our parents don't. Our grandparents don't. It all emanates from birthright citizenship because that was the right established after the Civil War to ensure that we never had this bizarre system again where we were punished because of our parents' status as non-citizens.